Good evening again, Mount Vernon. Today is December 9th, 2024. Welcome to the Mount Vernon City Council work session. This evening, we have two presentations. One will be made by Con Ed regarding their thermal energy project here in the city of Mount Vernon. We're going to start off with that. Then we have our FGEIS report from the Library Square project. But before we get started, I would like to ask everybody to please put your cell phones on mute. If you do receive a phone call, please remove yourself from chambers to take that phone call. We have two exits to your right, one in the rear, one in the front of the room. To the right, we have in the rear of the room, we have a stairwell outside the rear exit. Outside the front exit here, we have the ladies' room. Straight down the hallway to the right, you'll see a staircase. Right before the staircase is the men's room. And outside, directly straight down the hallway, is the planning department. In case of emergency, there is an AED machine right outside the doorway. With that being said, should we do the Pledge of Allegiance again? No. And we don't need to do a roll call, so I would call up Con Ed to start their presentation, please. Welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for having us again. My name is Greg Camoulis from Con Edison. I'm Department Manager of our Thermal Energy Networks projects. Is that in PowerPoint? Okay. And there was a cool video I wanted to play, but maybe I'll skip that video. It's a great video though. I don't know how we can get it to you, but we'll share it with the council afterwards, okay? Quickly, just want to introduce the next slide with the agenda. I'll move. I'm just going to talk a little quick refresher for the council on what how these thermal networks work, and I'll talk through what that video would show. And a little quick update of the project. We've done a lot of progress actually in the design so far, and then we'll go over some of the updates on the customer protections for this project, local workforce development, update on the field work, and then what the next steps are we're doing right now to kind of complete our design from now through the summer. Okay. All right, the next slide was a nice little video that explained from the NYSERDA website that explained how these work and pretty much explain how you're transferring heat energy from the ground that's a stable source in and outside the home. So again, I can't give it justice and kind of talk to it without it moving it. So I'll make sure you guys have the link and share it with you. A little bit how that works. Next slide, please. How it works inside of the home. This I will share. And if you can see on the screen there, if not, you want to give these, you can follow. Do you guys have the presentation? If not, you can follow. It's easier to see it if you guys have. Maybe a little hard to see because it's kind of far away from where screens are. So important. One thing's important how it works on the system side. What's really important also is how it works inside customers' homes. So if you go to slide 4. We got a second to get it open. All right. How these geothermal systems work inside homes really work with this heat pump. So what happens is that you have coming from the street side, the Con Edison services that come into the house, just like you would have your gas service or your electric service now. There will be underground services, 2 pipes that go in the house with water coming into them, and they'll connect to a heat pump in the basement. That heat pump is pretty much takes the warmth or coolness from our system, and that turns it into heating and cooling for the home. That heat pump is very similar to like an air source heat pump or a ductless unit that you may have and see in some homes today. We have the compressor outside. That compressor is not there for these systems. Inside, you have that heat pump that you plug in, and then it'll go to those air handling units. And those air handling units, just like you see on the ductless, see in the picture in the bottom. Oh, one more slide back up, please. Sorry. I'm still on the house picture slide. Yep. So these old air handling units that you see in the bottom left there, that's what you see in each room. So the beauty of these systems is that you can pretty much control the temperature of each room differently. So every home that's going to be connected to this project, when we talk about Con Ed paying for all the upgrades, I'll get to later, it gives controls and other benefits to each of the customers, including the ability to control temperatures of each room of their home. That's just kind of how they work, and they transfer heat from our system to the home, either for heating or for cooling. All right. Next slide, please. A little refresher on the project itself. So on the map here, you see the same project area. The project area has not changed from the time we first started talking to you all about a year and a half ago. We're currently in stage 2, like we spoke about. So we're designing the project and we're also building out those customer protection, the customer agreements, and getting ourselves ready. The status from the Public Service Commission today is that we are only approved to design the projects, right? That didn't change. Once we finish the designs, and we're going to be submitting it in probably this summer, likely August of this summer coming up in 2025. At that point, the Public Service Commission will make a determination if they want to go ahead and have us build this project, right? And that determination, this is not federal grant money or state money. This money comes from our existing Con Edison customers that'll be subsidizing the cost of this project and our other 2 proposed projects. Okay. I'm going to push through the next slide here. Talk a little bit about what some of the benefits are to the customers. And keeping in mind here, those customers are the houses and buildings that you saw on the last map, but they're also some of the municipal buildings like you see here on the slide, which is the Dole Center and the fire station. So first off, Con Ed will be covering the cost of all new heating and air conditioning equipment, right? Those pictures I showed before, Con Ed's covering all those costs. And additionally, most of the buildings here, in order to connect to electrify that heating, they're going to have to upgrade the electrical panels, right? More than likely, if that's the case, Con Ed's paying for all those costs as well. So part of the project cost that we're going to pay for covers really no cost to any of these building owners for anything from the city of Mount Vernon for your buildings and also for the buildings of the residents in the project area. The other added benefit that we didn't talk about before that we probably should have is those air handlers all have air filtration. So every single room will now have air filters kind of built in, it is actually a very big benefit to residents of the buildings, of the homes, of the tenants that are living there, to have that air filtration. And if you've seen them before, the picture shows it there. They kind of slide in and out, very easy to clean and wash and put forth. Additionally, we're eliminating any combustion fuels being burnt at the homes as well. So, burning natural gas or burning oil for heating really not the best for the environment inside the home. We know that, right, for the increased amount of asthma rates and whatnot for any buildings that have in-house combustion. Again, zero cost to any building owners, right? We're not asking for any dollars from any building owners at any point in time for all these upgrades. It's all going to be covered by Con Ed. And the difference of this project than maybe some of the incentive projects that you've heard of, we're overseeing all the work, right? All the work, all the contractors doing the work to do the installations, the electrical upgrades, even the contractors are going to be patching up any sheetrock that had to get done. They're all going to work directly for Con Ed, for my team, right? So we oversee all the contracts, doing all the work in all the buildings. It's not third-party incentives going after this project. So all Con Ed contractors. Okay. Talk a little bit, next slide, about some of the customer protections. So this project doesn't happen unless every customer or building volunteers to be in this project. Customers will not volunteer for anything new, nor would I if I didn't know I was being fully protected. So the basis of this project is really based on these protections. First off, the energy bills are not going to be any higher for anybody that joins the project. So we're looking back at all the existing energy bills over the last 3 years, seeing what they were, taking the lowest of those 3 years and making sure it's not going to be higher than that. How that works is we put a bill cap in place. So if the bills are higher and you'll be able to see what the actual usage is, we will cap it and make sure that nobody's paying more than what they were paying pretty much in their lowest 3-year history. So it's ensuring that any customer joining this project are not going to pay more for electricity. We expect the overall energy cost to go down anyway, but in the event that they don't, right, because habits may change, right? People may have more access to air conditioning than they did before. We still putting that cap in place. Residential customers can opt out at any time. Day one, we put the new system in place. They say, I don't want it anymore. We'll go back. We'll put them back on a brand new equipment on the equivalent of what they had before, whether it was oil or gas. At any point throughout the pilot, customers can opt out at no cost to them. We'll put them back to what they had before. We need those guarantees for them to want to make the decision to volunteer for this. All these will be covered by the project cost, and that's what we're asking for the Public Service Commission, to allow us to recover the cost for this work. We don't want the project we can't put the protection in place. It's very important. At the end of the 5-year pilot period, customers have the option to opt out again. They choose to opt out, they can do that. We put the customers back on all new equipment on what they had previously. We don't expect a lot of customers to want to opt out, but we want the protection in place to protect them if they want to. It's important to us. The last part here that we're focusing a lot is, and it's not really a thermal energy network issue, but we don't want to have landlords have the ability to transfer heating responsibilities to tenants through this project. Meaning, if I'm the landlord, I pay for heating, I redo my building for this project, and now suddenly my tenant is now paying for heating, right? And it wasn't covered in their rent. So meaning the relationship of the tenant landlord to who pays for heating cannot change in this project. So we're having protections for the tenants and the renters to make sure that if they weren't paying for heating before, they're not paying for heating now. It's still on the landlord. Obviously, we're not going to get into the details of their lease agreements or rental agreements, but we're not transferring which entity pays for the heating, right? So if they paid for the gas before, they'll be paying for the heating from the UTEP. Okay. All right, next slide. This one had a video, but this is fine. Quick update. So if you see, if you went by the Dole Center, the fencing is still up there. We're almost done with all the testing there. The actual borehole, the borehole we spoke about, is installed. It's in the ground. It went down 850 feet, successfully installed. If you see the video there, well, the picture there, that shows the drill rig when it was drilling there. The picture on the right, that's it. That's it sticking out of the ground. That, like we said, it's only this big. It's exactly what's there now. And that'll have a cover over it once we're out of the area over the next couple weeks. We're just finishing up the last bit of testing of the loop right now, but it all was installed really well. You know, and you know, pretty seamless, which was great to see. So we appreciate all the help with that. Next slide. So as part of our piping plan, so we have to put those horizontal pipes throughout the street to build this network up. We want to identify any interferences with potential existing facilities like sewers, water mains, electrical gas mains. We did some test pitting work. Test pitting is basically we do an exploratory excavation to see what's in the ground for areas that we think are going to be very tight when we install our system. We weren't going to do it so early, but West Third was going to be paved. We wanted to get in before they paved it. So we advanced some of those test pits back in October, and they were completed before the paving was done on West Third. So the paving came after us, and it got paved. We'll be doing the remainder of the test pits in that area. Again, these are small, like 5 foot by 5 foot hand dug excavations. We go, we dig it up, see what's there, take the measurements, put it back, restore it fully. Those will be happening probably January, February. But we did expedite just for the West Third. We didn't want to dig up that street after it got paved. Quickly on community outreach. We've been doing, you know, I think we've been doing quite a bit of community outreach in this project. We take it very important. Education and outreach is going to be key to this to work. So far, some formal events that we've done. We did a summer outreach event over at Purdy's Park. We attended Mount Vernon City Fest. We had our first town hall at the Dole Center recently, and that was, you know, pretty well attended. And we had some great questions on that. That was a really good event. We have a second one of those coming up as well in January. We've been door-to-door canvassing a lot. We've done 10 rounds of door-to-door canvassing, knocking on every single resident in the area from our project team directly. Danana and Christina have been out there knocking on doors, talking to residents, talking to landlords, talking to tenants. It's been helping a lot. We do it at least twice a month. We've been doing it ongoing, and we're going to continue doing it, you know, through the end of design, through the summer. We've already completed about 25 building assessments. So we've been into the buildings, talking to the customers, the residents, the commercial buildings, the churches, understanding what systems they have now, answering questions for them, analyzing what they would need to, you know, in order to retrofit them for these projects. So, you know, that's a big effort of ours. We want to get into as many as possible because we don't want to have a project without the customers knowing what is part of talking to them and then understanding what they have in their homes. So it's a big effort. We're doing a lot of outreach. We can continue to get into the buildings. No commitment, but they do get a bonus. Once you do an assessment, kind of does give them a $200 gift card. It was $50. We actually raised it to $200 because $50 wasn't enough, I think. So next slide there talks about some of those outreach. We've been trying a lot. We have many different things going on. We have active emails, letters, door hangers, door stickers, lawn signs, postcards, big construction signs that went out there, the gift card that we up to $200. And then we have an active website with all the information on there. There's samples there that you see there. The lawn signs are actually, they were really good in the Massachusetts project, and I think they're working really well here. As you speak to customers and they're excited about the project and understand it, we asked them if they would put a lawn sign in front of their house that basically just says, hey, this is the project and we're interested about it, and we did an assessment. And it hopefully helps to bring some of that camaraderie between the residents of the area to understand that, you know, we get it, it's safe, it's trust, we're doing it. So there's about, you know, maybe like a handful of lawn signs up right now. But as we do more assessments, we're going to be putting them more out there. And hopefully it starts to kind of spark the ideas and really allows the open communication with our team so we can, you know, explain this to everybody and fill them in. The next slide is on workforce engagement. So we've been working very closely with Director Mack and obviously also with, with Shane Sustainability. This is really on the workforce itself. So it's a big effort in Con Ed here to bring on local workforce and kind of have the ability to kind of introduce more and new contractors over to what Con Ed work is. We pride ourselves in that, and one of that is an event that we're going to have. We've been speaking about it for a while here. It's actually scheduled now, February 6th, going to be at a local establishment, El Patio, which is actually, we use them for the summer outreach event as well. It's not only to talk about the project, this project itself, but it's also going to talk about how to become a certified Con Ed contractor and what those processes are and how to do it, and introduce them to our procurement team and supply chain team, which would also allow them to be participants in other work outside of this project, all Con Ed work. So once you become a certified contractor, you can bid on and be included on other Con Ed work, this project and beyond this project. It's a great opportunity. These type of events are relatively new that we do in Con Ed, so we're excited about it. There's a lot of backing and enthusiasm from our side about it. It's a good partnership, and hopefully we expect to have a lot of local contractors attend this event. Again, I'm not sure if it's publicly posted yet, so it may not be actually out, but it will be posted. Director Mack put it out there, but the date, we're good with it. But we're good with it. So we'll be out there. We also started meeting with the new Mount Vernon Youth Activity Center. They have plans to build that new center up. We're talking to them not only about the project connecting to it, but also the ability of all of the Con Ed connections of the potential opportunities. So we had a meeting with them already. We have a meeting with them again tomorrow at 12 at the Dole Center. So we're continuing to work with above and beyond just what this project is to kind of build that connection between Mount Vernon and Con Ed. Finally, almost done here. Yeah, just 2 more slides. Next slide talks here. What's coming up next? So we've been talking about building this energy center building at the fire station. That's a first rendering of what it looks like. You can see it there. It's a 2-story building with a sub-basement. That sub-basement on the first floor is going to be dedicated for operating our system with the pumps, right? And all the power is going to need to circulate the water around. The top floor is what we're offering to the city of Mount Vernon for use of that emergency center office space. So you see it in the top floor there. We're excited to start designing this building. The next step for the design is to just typical construction work for any new building. You have to make sure how the soil is under the building to understand how to design the foundation. So that's the next part right now, designing that foundation. So we'll be doing some sampling of the soil in the next couple weeks. It's probably about 2 days worth of work out there. We just see the soil, see if it's soft or hard, and then we can design that foundation work for that building. That plus those street excavations is really the only field work of the design that's pretty much left on our project as we finish our designs. And then this last slide, just kind of update a milestone steps where we are. We spoke about it already. So you will see if you follow the public docket, all of the projects in the state are filing for extensions. The original timeline they gave us didn't make sense. It was supposed to be all done by this January 9th. Well, we're filing an extension for Mount Vernon and all of our projects. Mount Vernon will be extended to August 15th. That's when we expect to file our final design package, that or before that date. In January, we're trying to iron out the final date, but we're going to have our second town hall in the Dole Center. New and improved. If we learn something from that one, we can improve it and make that connection. We have the local workforce workshop in February. In the summer, we're going to be submitting our final proposals. And then we wait to hear back from the Public Service Commission. Again, we're still anticipating hearing back from them by the end of next year. Hopefully, if they extend further, maybe it spills into January of the 2026. At that point, once we hear from them, that's when we actually try to start the recruitment process of the customers, where customers actually be signing these agreements. But all those agreements, the structure of them, the rates, the cost, the bill caps will all be publicly filed and available for everybody when we file in the summer. So everything we file and that we're going to try to actually sign customers up will be available to everybody, the public, when we file in the summer. And that's pretty much it. I'm happy to take questions. I just want to, it's been a while since we updated like actual project updates here. So we figured it would be a good time to kind of get in front of the council here tonight and give an update of where we are.
No, it absolutely was. I'm gonna put the questions. Okay, Councilman Thompson, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. My first question is, I know you said you dug 850 feet. Did you hit any oil?
Oil, no oil.
Yeah,
No oil. Some
No,
water.
I'm just
No
messing with
oil.
you. Just know if you hit it, it belongs to us, all right? No,
If we hit oil, we probably would have to not do the project.
no, but I do believe that our residents would definitely buy into this because I did a little research myself and we do know that thermal is safer than gas. There's no combustion, there's no carbon monoxide and things of that nature. So you know, I did the research on that. I would definitely like to see this in writing for all of the residents, you know, because I'm coming after y'all if y'all don't hold to your word. Um, but I was wondering when you said Con Ed does all the work when you convert from gas or oil to the geothermal. However, if they opt out after 5 years, do you also foot the bill if
Yep.
they decide to
We put
convert
them
back?
Yeah, with our contractors again, we'll put them back with our work,
And that's in writing as well, right?
So that'll, all those terms, those customer protections, and when we do our final filing in the summer, it's all gonna be in there. Because we only want this project approved by the state if they allow us to do these things that we're saying. So right now, we're in the middle of drafting those up and kind of figuring out all the details, because they are a bit of complex in certain nature, these agreements, but that's all gonna be part of the filing we're gonna have in the summer. Yep.
Okay. And also, have you contacted the school district in order to actually get the information out? You know, because the area that you're working in, they can get that information out, whether it's on their website, whether they go through the PTA, the parent liaisons, or parent teachers conference, they can get that information. So, you know, going along with your footwork, at least you can get that help.
That's great. We want to get to the schools. We started talking to an organization called Pencil. They do a lot of work in the city,
Mhm.
and volunteering to kind of get into the schools organizations, but it seemed to be a bit more red tape in getting a new organization involved with Con Ed. So I think going right to the schools themselves, and if we have any contact with the local schools of these residents, if there's a way to know which of the local schools that footprint goes to, we would love to be able to out there and make those connections. So I don't know where we can get that from. Is that public information or?
It is, but you can give your information to Ms. Anderson and I'll make sure that I link the two of you.
Okay,
All
that'd be
right.
great. This way, we can go right to the schools that are in the area.
Absolutely. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilman Potteet?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Con Ed, for your presentation. Thank you for coming back. I'm very happy to hear that on February 6th, you're gonna have that forum for local businesses. I have two questions. First, does Con Ed generally do any type of workforce training if I'm a guy or a girl and I wanna work for Con Ed as a worker, but don't have the necessary skills today to work at Con Ed? Do you do any type of that training at all or no?
I have to get back. I'm not aware of direct Con Ed training for employees that are not working for Con Ed. That doesn't mean that we don't sponsor or partner with the groups that do. So I could find out what Con Ed's associations do with training of workforces directly that are not already employees. I know we train contractors, we use our learning center in Queens. But I have to find out more about the training piece and what those opportunities are direct to Con Ed.
Okay, appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
And then my second question is an ask. Very happy to see that you're building a new building and giving a floor to Mount Vernon. That's important. Because you're building a new building, you can put in a foundation, excavation, all that good stuff. Building an additional floor after putting in all that effort, it's not that big of an effort. So I would humbly ask if maybe versus one floor, you could consider giving Mount Vernon 2 floors, since you're gonna build a new building anyway.
so I'll take the ask. Keep in mind the decision on the ability to even add floors that aren't directly, work that's not directly associated with the house itself, is at the discretion of the approval of the Public Service Commission, right? That's the key. So, we think that we can work an agreement between Con Ed and City of Mount Vernon, since we're using a lot of land space for the boreholes and the easements, that kind of mix it together in the sense to show that it's kind of a wash and it's not actually costing our ratepayers more money to cover this cost. If we can do it in a way that still makes sense, once we get our engineering costs, we can look at it. But right now, I think it's a win with the first one floor is the short answer to that. But I don't know, there's a roof. So if you want to go up there, we could definitely do tours on the roof if you want to be one level higher. You got it.
Okay, are there any other questions? Councilman Box Hill, Councilwoman Brown? All right, Director Butler Burrell. You're being recognized. You have a question for Carnett?
Yes, hi, thank you. Hi, council members.
Isn't it
Um,
Burrell Butler?
it's,
Why
can
does
you
it
hear
say
me?
Butler Burrell?
Can you hear me?
Is it Butler Burrell? Oh, goodness. Forgive me.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Butler
I don't know
Burrell.
if they
I always
can
say
though.
Burrell Butler. Director,
Yes, I'm here,
you had a
but
question? We
yes,
can't hear you.
uh-oh. Okay,
Cannot hear you.
Director, we can't hear you.
okay, hold on 1 second. Hold on.
2 seconds?
Is it the TV?
Hold on. Ah, Kendra, can you see if they could hear you?
Can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on.
Coming back, come
Hang
on.
on. We're putting the volume up. Kind of.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
We can hear you on
know.
Facebook, not in chambers.
Yeah,
Hold
I'm on
on.
Zoom in chambers.
Commissioner Perez to the rescue. Try it now.
All right, can you hear me now? Everyone on the call could hear me.
No
except
good.
Council.
Not yet.
Yeah, they're unable to hear me.
Can you hear? Can you hear? Microphone 1 2 1 2.
Try one more time.
Chambers, can you hear?
No.
You want to talk? Let me see if we can hear you.
Can you hear now? 1 2 1 2.
How about now?
No.
No, they're not in there.
Do you
I
want to
can hear
type
you,
it in the
Debbie.
message?
It is in the chat. But they
Oh, yes. Okay, I saw that. Yes. Okay, got it. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so we're reading it.
Like, I was trying to tell you that.
I'm gonna read your question, Director. She wrote, who makes up the Mount Vernon Youth Activity Center? Can you elaborate on that?
Oh,
Yeah, I was curious about that myself.
I can't answer that question, but I don't know who's the best contact I can. Eric Crum. That's what we're meeting tomorrow, right? Yeah.
Okay, so
Eric
Director,
Crum.
I would speak to Director Crump.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Do we have any
Okay.
other questions?
Okay.
Go right ahead.
I'm confused. So Eric Crump is the responsible for the Mount Vernon Youth Activity Center?
That's the person that has some contact in regards to the Mount Vernon Youth. I don't know what group that is, so I don't have much to say on that.
Okay.
Does Director Mack want to say something? Hold on. Maybe we're giving it a different name?
So there is a capital projects program, capital project development occurring on the Dole Center footprint that is being, in its project form, being called Youth Activity Center. And so.
Oh, so it's not an actual group? It'll
No,
be,
it's not a group. It's going to be a building that is part of the
okay, so
capital
it's a
projects.
named building, like you're naming an auditorium?
Well, we're not, it's in project phase. So for project phase, they're
Okay.
giving it that name for the purposes of the project, Youth Activity Center. But it's in
Gotcha.
concept
So it's
phase.
not like an organization,
It's
it's
not-
just the
it's-
name of, a
Correct,
potential name of the building.
correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
that identifies it. Commissioner of Planning would like to come up and speak.
Thank you, council members. Simply, I've been working with Director Crump and Joe Pemberton in DPW with the group on this. It's being funded by a gentleman named Kevin Marcus, and so we've been working with his team on this. So I can provide you, give you my card, provide you the information that you need. But Eric is. Yeah,
Okay, maybe you want to loop in the Director of the Youth Bureau on this, potentially?
yeah, sure.
Okay. All right, are there any other questions from council members? All right, with that being said, I just wanted to say personally that I'm happy that you guys came, because one of the things that I had said before I was council president is that when these heaters and these air conditioners came in, the units, the split units, there wasn't an awful lot of communication with Con Ed, and a lot of our residents were extremely frustrated. So I'm happy to see the engagement, and happy to see that you guys came and gave us an updated report, and we look forward to the next one. So thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and speak to us tonight.
No, thank you so much. Thanks for hospitality as always.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Okay, with that being said, we're gonna move right along to the Library Square project. Miss Diana Williams, are you coming up first, or is our planning commissioner coming up first? I think our planning commissioner should come up and make the introduction, and then he'll introduce you.
Thank you, Council President. Commissioner James Rouse, Department of Planning and Community Development. We're excited tonight to have a presentation from Comrie Enterprises and Trinity Financial for the long proposed Library Square development, also known as 20 South Second Avenue. It's a proposed two-building development that's part of an overall downtown transit-oriented arts district that will cover a two-block area surrounding their proposal. Tonight, the applicants will discuss what the components of the downtown transit-oriented art district are, which is to provide a great range of housing, housing options ranging from their project, which is an affordable housing project, but also opportunities for market rate projects, as well as putting provisions to promote arts in that specific area south of Mount Vernon East train station, which would include potential for live workspace, for artist galleries, and for actual art pieces, whether it's sculptures or murals in the surrounding area. So we, as a plan department, we've been working very closely with yourself and with the developers to get to this point. We know that this project precedes many of us who are here, and so we're really excited to be at this point to bring hundreds of new units to the south side, and to bring potential art space as well as commercial space and community facility space with also environmental leaders of color for this area.
Thank you so much. And what's being presented tonight is the FGEIS report. So can you just give a short understanding of what that is to the public?
Sure. So the acronym is one of many for what's called an EIS, Environmental Impact Statement. So we are at the finish line with this, so to say, for those who don't know. So an environmental analysis that covers the impact of not only the rezoning itself, but the specific project that this consultant team has put together. And it looks at everything from impact on not only just normal environmental analysis, but things like noise, schools, open space, transportation. And the reason it's being proposed and called the Transit-Oriented Arts District is its location close to the Mount Vernon East train station, and falls in line with the phase 1 of the comprehensive plan and the downtown vision report to promote transit-oriented buildings that's more focused on a variety of units, particularly smaller units for people, to encourage them to utilize our pardon me, to utilize our Metro North stations and our buses located particularly near Petrillo Plaza.
All right, great.
Pardon.
And so is Miss Diana Williams, she's going to be making the presentation? Or?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, Speak clearly into the microphone, Ms. Williams. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Good evening. My name is Diana Williams. I am the president of Comer Enterprises and the founder of Environmental Leaders of Color. The project team consists of Comer Enterprises and Trinity Financials, who is the main partner. This project is not just about housing. It is really about the community. And we have been collaborating with the city and with the community for 10 years to bring the project to a point where we think it benefits the residents of the city of Mount Vernon, sorry, as well as the project team. So there are a couple of facets of the project that I want to share with you, and that is about the community space. Our community space will not only include an arts district or space for arts programming, but it will include space for environmental leaders of color and Mount Vernon Wyckoff. And we are pleased to share that with you. There is quite a bit of public support for this project. And I have here 50 cards. Some of them are electronic, some of them people have signed, Mount Vernon residents have signed, that show their support for the project. In the audience, there are a few people who are supporting the project. Will you please raise your hand? And this is we were able to get people after about 3 or 4 days of campaigning, but we believe that there are more residents in Mount Vernon who support this project. So I want to leave these cards with you, and I want to introduce a member of our project team who will tell you more of the details about the structure, and that is Mr. Christoph Strumpf from Trinity Financials.
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
Welcome.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Council President Gleason and Council Members Brown, Thompson, Boxhill, and Porteet. Really appreciate that you have us here again. We have a presentation. There's some text on it, so I do have printouts for the council members. It may be helpful to distribute them. Sorry, we realized that the screen may be a little small for this. Again, thank you for having us here. We just wanted to update you on the project and how the process that Commissioner Rouse explained has transformed the project. And would like to use the next slide and show the application for the Downtown Transit-Oriented Arts District is really a two-part application. It has, as Commissioner Rouse already mentioned, it has a rezoning aspect for 2 blocks in Mount Vernon, and then also a specific project. So I'm going to speak to both. First, the specific project. Since we submitted it, we received a great amount of comments from the public, from agencies, from stakeholders, from you, and we reacted to these comments and want to share this here. We changed our massing from the project, which I'm going to get into a little bit with pictures. We reduced the density from 370 to 272 units. We changed our community facility programming from just youth-oriented environmental programming and after-school programming to include more art-specific components. We changed also our courtyard use to more of an art-specific use. And we changed our parking ratio slightly. We changed our parking mix. We made some other minor changes. The big changes on the rezoning are that we work closely with the planning commissioner, but also with the whole process of the comprehensive plan. And we tailored our zoning to reflect that more closely. So you see that in changes in allowable building heights. You see that with the number of stories that we would allow. We also changed the parking ratio that would be applied to this district to more closely reflect the comprehensive plan. I'm going to go to the next slide and show you a little bit about the project and the massing. So what you see here is the originally submitted project. It is one building with 317 units. It's a U-shaped building that covers basically the entire lot, has exposure on South 2nd and South 3rd. Here, this is an image from South 2nd Avenue. You can go to the next slide. And you see that aerial bird's eye view. It has again, this is from South 3rd Avenue, but it has a connecting ring on the southern side. So it's really a U-shaped building. What we did, we changed the massing. If you go to the next slide, to break down the facade, make it more in line with what is surrounding the project, break down the facade into different setback levels. We grouped the expression, and we changed it into two separate buildings. Both buildings have full activation on the ground floor to the streets. If you go to the next page, you can see here these two buildings basically now are broken up, no longer a U-shape. And they have roof terraces, they have setbacks, and have changed and addressed some of the comments we received. I'm going to hand this over now to my colleague, Eva Ehrlich, who is going to address some of the benefits to the city.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us today. So we can go to the next slide. Just as Diana mentioned, Comrie has been at this for 10 years. Trinity's been involved for maybe half that time. So it feels like a long time for us too, but we feel like we have put together a proposal for the project site as well as the zoning area that is responsive to feedback we've received and is, hopefully you all will feel is very beneficial to the city of Mount Vernon and to the residents who live here. The housing that we will be building at our proposed project site will have 272 units of mixed income housing that will benefit a range of incomes. We are going to be replacing what is currently an underutilized site with vibrant, new, activated development, as Christoph mentioned, street frontage activation. There will be 15,000 square feet for youth programming in the arts. Environmental leaders of color will be occupying 7,000 square feet of space in one of the buildings. And in the other building, and along with some outdoor courtyard space, we will be providing programming for the arts. We are still working to identify who that arts operator will be, who will run those programming, the programming pieces, but it could include a range of things: music, art, visual arts, dance. We're trying to figure out what the right program and mix of that is within this space. Our project will be making investments in the public realm and site infrastructure, and there will be economic benefits to the city with this project. And the last piece on this slide is that this project will create construction period jobs in the city of Mount Vernon, and it will also create new on-site permanent jobs for the city of Mount Vernon. You can go to the next slide. Within the two buildings that we are proposing for our site that Christoph described, we are going to be including robust resident amenities for the residents who will be living in those buildings, including the items that are listed here. There'll be arts maker space, flex space, co-working space. There'll be a roof terrace, bike storage. There'll be laundry facilities within the building, and then there'll be some on-site parking and EV charging stations. And then lastly, and it was timely that you guys had Con Ed here talking about geothermal, Our building is being designed to be passive house and geothermal. We feel this will be a very sustainable building design. It will have lots of benefits, indoor air quality benefits for our residents. All electric building, very, very forward thinking on sustainability. I think that's all we have. Happy to take any questions. I just also wanted to mention we're joined today by VHB, who's been working very closely with us on the project, and our attorney, Mark Blanchard. Happy to answer any questions that City Council may have.
Council? Anybody want to begin? Councilman Potteet?
Thank you, Council President. I have a question for Commissioner Rouse. The parking as it's been changed, what's your take on it, and is it in line with the recommendations coming out of the comp plan?
Thank you, council member. So we have been working with the consultant to resolve this. This was one of the two big pressing issues. The first one being was the assurance that there was a presence of art space, which they have, gracefully complied. But given the site issues, the cost of providing on-site parking was problematic. And even though the Downtown Vision Report to phase 1 of the comp plan significantly reduced the amount of parking, this halved the floor of what we were looking for parking in the district. And so given what current zoning is and the availability of the municipal lot within that radius, we've been working with them of looking at that as an option to provide some off-site parking, but also looking at other options such as payment in lieu of parking, which I know is not the most popular option, but it is an option, as well as providing on-site zip car space, which results in, was a council member Thompson nods because it was one of his suggestions, and that adds into a parking calculation of about one zip car would deduct like approximately 5 spaces because of, and so we've been trying to right size how many spaces will be available to essentially do our best to meet the minimum. And so while the Downtown Vision Report was always meant to allow flexibility for council to design and mold and negotiate. So what we had looked at primarily was a 0.4 ratio for parking, and then for larger units, 0.7. That primarily stays within the spirit of the comp plan. There were some slight adjustments to make it work. But right now it is agreed that if we could provide at least 0.4 ratio for the parking, which would mean in total approximately 109 spaces, then it would be deemed acceptable to us, just given the proximity to Mount Vernon East train station.
Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you for coming and giving a presentation. A few questions on the art space. So I see that indoor art space in building B would be about 4,000, a little over 4,000. And then this courtyard space, which is about 4,000. Could you help me visualize what courtyard art space looks like?
And maybe I can ask, it's one of the bullpen slides. I think it's just right, the first one. You could bring that up. Well, I can just describe it. So the arts component, the arts programming component, as you rightfully pointed out, consists of two areas. There's this indoor 4,000 square foot, 4,200 square foot space, and then the courtyard space, which is shared. Part of the courtyard is for parking. Part of the courtyard. Go two more or a few more. Hold on. Next one, this one, the next slide. Yes, thank you. Actually, you could go one further because that shows the program space. What you see in the top left, the bluish shaded areas, indoor art space, and directly below the light green area is the we think this is like a sculpture garden. So it has a green component, but is also paired with art exhibition area that is being programmed and controlled by the arts space provider. So this is more an exhibition, maybe some maker area, but it's really also supposed to be a partial green space, a combination of that.
And does the public have access to this courtyard? Is that what the?
Yes, so the public would have access to it through the arts component. So for example, if they decide to have a showing, a sculpture showing, then that would be accessible. People would go through the indoor art space and would have a direct access then to the sculpture garden. So it would be a programmed managed access.
Sure. And can you speak a little bit about the ground level art activation? What exactly does that entail?
So the actual arts provider, we are currently in discussion with arts providers. We want to be responsive to both the local needs, but also cognizant of what arts programming really means. We don't want to just provide a space and then, as it sometimes happens, it sits there empty. So we are looking for a provider who can really operate the space, have active programming, and not just have a token empty space there. So, and we don't have that entity. We haven't found that entity just yet.
Gotcha.
So it's also in juxtaposition to the other space, to youth programming and sustainable programming. That is our partner, ELOC, right? So that entity is already part of the development team.
So clarify for me, where's the YCOP organization going to be if ELOC is taking up the 7,000?
So we'll be part of that space on the next slide, I think. Yeah, this one, correct. So this is the other building facing South 2nd Avenue, and YCOP would be inside that space as well.
And how much space is designated to YCOP?
I think that's still being discussed.
Got you. Okay, so in the previous proposal, the courtyard area was open to the public, that green space. So you're saying in this proposal that is no longer fully open to the public, right? It has to be through programming from the arts program that you decide to move forward with?
Correct. And it was never completely open. It was always through a program. So there was no free anytime access for anybody. You would be part of a program. We had an urban farm there. So this has to be, was also managed space. So whatever, weekdays, afternoons, whatever that operation looked like.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Councilman Boxill?
272 high quality mixed income rental apartments. Could you explain how was that broken out? Just explain for the public what is mixed income, by the way.
So in this proposal, we're proposing a combination of units that are targeted for households that earn up to 50% of the area median income, 60% of the area median income, and 80% of the area median income. And I can tell you in terms of what that means in dollars and cents. In Westchester, in this area, because it's obviously by area, for a family of four, a 4-person household, the 60% area median income is 93,720. For four-person household, the 50% of area median income is 78,100. And for four-person family, the 80% area median income is 124,960 annual incomes.
And do we have a breakdown of how that's going to be distributed, the 272, how many?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Okay, so we are proposing that there would be 84 units that fall into the 50% of area median income category.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
84 units in the 50% of area median
Okay.
income. 50, 84, and it's in a combination of studio 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units, which I can give you the breakdown of by unit if that's helpful too.
Okay, I mean, well, continue. How many?
161 units that will fall into the 60% of area
160,
median income.
Okay,
161, and then 26 units in the 80% of area median income units. That totals 271 units, and then the last unit is a supers unit, which gets you to 272.
okay.
And those are all made up of studio 1s and 2-bedrooms.
So the vast majority are 50 or 60, and then we have some that are 80.
Yeah, the majority is 60% of the area median income.
Okay.
161 units are there.
All right, thank you.
Welcome.
Councilman Potteet?
Did Councilmember Thompson have a comment? I don't wanna take your time. I'm sorry, excuse me. There was a question about why YCOP and what spaces that you had for them. Obviously that YCOP is a very important organization to the city.
Yes, we recognize that. They are our partners in many things, and in fact, Mr. Henry Wilson, the executive director, is sitting right there. So during the last 10 years, there have been different iterations, and Mr. Wilson, tell me if I'm wrong about this, right? About YCOP space. We started out with YCOP wanting a basketball court and classrooms. And I think where we are right now is that YCOP has facilities in other buildings in Westchester, in Mount Vernon, but needs a headquarters, a head office. And so we are going to provide those headquarters for YCOP. With the use of a conference room that will be in the environmental leaders of color space, that they can schedule a conference room, but there will office space. Is that your need? Those are his needs, yes.
There's a question I have looking at the first floor plan. This one here, building B and building A.
Can we try and pull this up again? This is the one we looked at for the outdoor space.
Does the building have a basement? Or no?
So the site is on a slope. So South Second Avenue is almost a full story higher than South Third Avenue. So what you're seeing on this plan, building, what's labeled, hold on, it's, I think slide 13, try that. Sorry, slide 11. Yes, thank you. So what you see here, what's labeled building A, that's at the bottom part, that is actually the cellar for building A. There's nothing underneath, but the grade is on the next floor. For building B, this is the ground floor, and building B has a partial cellar underneath building B.
And what's going to be in that cellar for building B? Just curious.
Utilities. So we talked about geothermal. So geothermal is going to be in there, the whole manifold. There are heat pumps down there. There's going to be a trash compactor room, bike storage, electrical. No amenity spaces other than bike storage.
So I'm assuming that YCOP's happy with what they have, but just a random thought. You have space in the basement because you're only partially excavating it, not fully. So you could possibly excavate the full basement to have more space for other activities, potentially.
That is true, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, just curious. And so in the event that YCOP wanted more space, potentially,
Mhm.
that they could maybe look at that potentially as more space.
That's a possibility, yeah. Mhm.
Thanks.
Councilwoman Brown?
Thank you, Council President. Curious around, so I think I see murals on the side of the building.
Correct, yes, you do.
But can't really tell, right? So there's artwork outside the buildings that add to the aesthetic of this being a downtown oriented arts district, right?
Correct, correct.
Okay.
If you go to the next slide, that's probably best, yeah, so. And we have done murals like this in other places. I don't have a picture of this now, but we completed just a couple years ago a large project in Brooklyn it was a New York City public housing project. It was a new construction project, and we had a large mural of that was like they're the community heroes over was like 50-foot high and 25-foot wide. So it was really a big community asset.
Awesome.
So we are planning to do something here to commission that and, you know, have maybe an arts competition who can design something for these walls.
Okay. The renderings that are shown here are preliminary, just to give the sense of what we're proposing, but not, we're not saying this will be the mural on the building.
Got you. Thank you.
Councilman Thompson?
Yes, I don't have a question. I have more of a comment, because I know over the years, we've been hearing the residents, wanting this project to happen, right? We had Mount Calvary Church and the pastor come out. We had residents from the surrounding area come out in support of this project. And I myself think it's a great project. So I'm eager to see, the greatness that it would bring. I love that it's on the south side of Mount Vernon. That's my first thing, because I love that new things are coming to the south side of Mount Vernon. But I'm also happy about this project because I've seen what Comrie Enterprises has done in and throughout this community. They've done things in other communities, but I'm ecstatic about the things that they've done within our community. So I just say thank you all for your presentation. And I hope this just goes through and brings joy to the residents of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Thompson.
Okay, so I think we have covered everything. Does anybody have any further questions? Sure, Ms. Williams, go right ahead.
This Saturday morning at the SUNY Mount Vernon Extension, ELOC is having its technology and the environment graduation. We have for the 2 past semesters teaching our high school students advanced technology classes, the type of classes that you get in college. And they have been doing exceptionally well. This past semester in the spring, they learned something called XLR, data mining. Do not ask me to explain anything further because I do not know. But this semester, they learned coding. And for their final projects, they're all setting up coding games. I would like you to please attend because they need our community support. They are learning valuable skills. When we speak to other people about what they're learning, this is college level, sometimes graduate level work that they're doing. And we would love your support. Please, Marvin, what time is the graduation? 9:15.
Okay, Ms. Williams, just make sure you give Antoinette Anderson, our legislative aide, all the information. She could create a calendar invite and it'll go
Absolutely.
straight. And whoever's able to make it, one of us will be there.
Thank you so very much. Thank
Okay,
you.
are there any other comments or questions? All right, I would just like to say, this was a great presentation. I'm glad you guys, were able to come. I know that the schedule was kind of mixed up, but I think it was better for you guys to come early. That way we can leave open any questions. If we have any, I would like to invite our planning commissioner back up to let us know what the next steps are. in this process. And thank you again. We appreciate you guys coming and taking so much time out of your schedule.
Thank you. Just wanted to call up potential calendar. So speaking, after conferring with our land use consultant and our land use attorney, we're looking to work with the applicant for any additional edits, just with feedback from city council to by the 13th, and then just work with finalizing that, sending it for the 23rd for council to consider deemed complete and schedule a public hearing for January 8th. If there is nothing overly controversial and council wishes just to.
And you want those comments by Friday, the 13th, Friday, the
Yeah,
13th?
Yes, that would
Okay.
be helpful, yes. Then the formal, if the 8th, the public public hearing closes, the comment period can close on the 17th to that you issue the secret findings and you approve the rezoning. So we're talking potentially at the end of January, I guess latest early February, if there's a lot of public comment.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Commissioner. We're gonna take just a 2-minute break. And then, we have to go into, unless you want to do it now. Okay, all right. So we're just gonna take a 2-minute break and go back into our session. Thank you. 2 minutes. We're ready? All right, Mount Vernon, we are back. Going into, we don't have to take another roll call, right? Okay. Councilman Thompson?
Yes, I make a motion that we go into executive session, regarding legal matters to move.
Second. The question? Roll call?
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet, Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye. All right, we're going into executive session to discuss legal matters. We'll be right back, Mount Vernon. Okay, welcome back, Mount Vernon. All right, we are going straight into our Oh, I need a motion to exit executive session.
I move that we, exit executive session, so moved.
Somebody want a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Box Hill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Potteet,
Aye.
Councilman Thompson,
Aye.
Council President Gleason.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, legislation and oh, did I do something wrong again?
No, but I'm glad the Commissioner of Management Services is here so he can hear this feedback. Yeesh, can you cut your mic? Item number one, I have an ordinance authorizing the award of contract for municipal broadband solution, Wi-Fi solution bid, to LightPath and the execution of an agreement for the implementation of a public Wi-Fi system. That is on the agenda, but Commissioner Perez, since I have you, what happened to the other areas? I see about 5 or 6 locations on here. Council President, may I ask for clarity? Thank you.
Go right ahead, Director Perez.
With the total list of sites that we had in the original list, most of the vendors came in well over, one vendor was over $7 million if we wanted to implement everything. So we went back to them, and the mayor and the comptroller selected their top 4 sites. Then we went back and added a 5th site, and we were able to bring that number down.
Thank you. All right, item number 2, I have an ordinance retroactively authorizing the chief of staff to attend the Strong Cities Network 5th Global Summit in Cape Town, South Africa, December 3rd through the 5th, 2024. That's on the agenda. I have item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with Lease Servicing Center, Inc., doing business as Governmental Capital for the leasing of public works vehicles. So this item is on the agenda, but not as it was originally in our packet. I had a conversation with both the commissioner and the deputy commissioner of public works today, just trying to figure out why the comptroller's office, the assessor's office, the planning office needed a Chevy Tahoe or such a large vehicle. The commissioner sent over a list of vehicles removing all of those cars, including the car for the mayor, and only included in the list now are the direct need for DPW, like the trucks, et cetera, that we need. So there's an amended letter. So DC, he emailed it, so we can upload it tomorrow or to whenever. Thank you. So that's just a FYI for the council, and that's on the agenda. If I
So
didn't say
to be clear, the assessor, the planning vehicle, and the mayor's office vehicle is not on the list.
And the comptroller's vehicle.
And the comptroller's
Neither of them are on
Thank
the
you.
list. Yeah. So, and just as a caveat, it's not that I don't believe that the assessor's office or the comptroller's office or the mayor's office, any of them need a vehicle. It's more so about the type of vehicle and making sure that we're being fuel efficient. So they said that they will worry about those vehicles in the new year. Okay. Item number 4, I have an ordinance authorizing a budget transfer to cover administrative fees for union grievances filed against the city of Mount Vernon Department of Public Works. That's on the agenda. Item number 5, I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an emergency contractual agreement with PCI Industries, Inc. for sanitary and stormwater sewer repairs. That is on the agenda. I have item number 6, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Vernon designating Tessa Williams as a marriage clerk. That's on the agenda. That concludes my report, but I did have a question for Corporation Counsel. I never received an update on the procurement manager position or assistant Corporation Counsel. I don't know if I said that. So can I have that update, please?
I'm intending to speak to the comptroller, and I just haven't had an opportunity yet, so
Oh, you need to speak to the controller about what?
this is moving that position, correct, from manager
Correct.
services to his office?
Right.
Because no one really spoke to me about that. You mentioned it in the last meeting, and I haven't had a conversation with anyone.
I don't understand why you need to have a conversation with the comptroller, for legislation for council.
Oh, I wanted to clarify that that's what they wanted, that this was agreed to. I've seen no paperwork or anything about that. This just happened in the meeting, so I was trying to have a conversation. If I don't need to, then we'll get it started.
Yeah, so I think there's some confusion around like the different roles. So if council wanted to move something forth, even if the comptroller was opposed to it, it's still within council's purview. But I did speak to the comptroller's office.
Okay,
So will we be able to get that for Wednesday?
we should, yes, I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions for legislation and public works? Councilwoman Brown, you absolutely, I appreciate you contacting DPW because I had some issues with those, vehicles myself. I actually just talked to, Councilman Thompson about it. With that being said, Human Resources, Councilman Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. I have item number 7 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds within the Civil Service Commission budget to cover medical expenses for police officer hiring. That's on the agenda. I have item number 8 from Civil Service, an ordinance authorizing the change of title for the Executive Secretary to the Civil Service Commission to Civil Service Administrator. That's on the agenda. I have item 9 from Recreation, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an agreement with the county of Westchester to provide funding for a summer basketball program and senior programming. That's on the agenda. Item number 10, I have from the Youth Bureau, I have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an agreement with Westchester Putnam Workforce Development Board for the Youth Employment Program. That's on the agenda. Of course, that's no match to the city, no money coming from the city. Item number 11, also from the Youth Bureau, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to retroactively enter into an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County Youth Bureau. And also that's a no match thing as well, and that will be on the agenda. I don't have any add-ons, that's all.
Thank you. I just want to recognize that we have our Chair of the Civil Service, Joan Battle, and we have Ms. Pat Rosamunda. I would ask, Ms. Rosamunda if you would come. I just had a couple of questions regarding job titles within the city. If you could just come to the podium. I just wanted to make sure, are you waiting on any other job titles? I know I have to get you on the new clerk job title. Are you waiting on any other job titles within the city administration? And you don't have to answer it now.
Yes,
If you,
some pending.
okay, if you could communicate that back to council so that we can send a letter to the administration to make sure that those are followed up on. All right, thank you so much.
That's it?
That's it. You got it. I just don't ever get you here, so I might as well ask. All right. I know. Public safety and codes.
Thank you, Council President. Item number 12 from Consumer Protection, November 2024 monthly report is for information purposes only. Item number 13 from the Fire Department, and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Empress Emergency Medical Service for ambulance and paramedicine services. That is agenda pending. There's one question that I have that I need answered before that goes on the agenda. Item number 14 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the transfer of the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds, for the purchase of 3 vehicles for the Department of Public Safety is on the agenda. Item number 15 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of 2025 Toyota Camry LE hybrid vehicles for the Department of Public Safety. That is on the agenda. Item number 16 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of Motorola Edge devices for the Department of Public Safety will be on the agenda. Item number 17 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the use of ARPA funds for flooring installation in the Aware Command Center is on the agenda. Item number 18 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the County of Westchester for reimbursement of parking fees for the use of municipal parking lot number 4 from May 1st, 2016 through October 31st, 2022 is on the agenda. Item number 19 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the marking of 5 unmarked 2022 Ford Police Interceptor vehicles for patrol duties is on the agenda. Item number 20 from Public Safety, and ordinance authorizing the purchase of 400 Target gift cards to support the Public Safety Camera Program, PSCP, to enhance community safety and crime prevention. 400 Target gift cards, each valued at $150, is on the agenda. Item number 21 from the city clerk, a resolution authorizing the reappointment of Francine Rosario to the Taxi Cab Commission is on the agenda. And that's all that I have, Council President.
Okay, so I have some questions, but I'll let, Councilwoman, Brown go first.
Why, thank you, Council President. I'll save the good one for last. For the contract for public safety and code, the purchasing of the doorbell camera MOUs, has the Assistant Corporation Council had an opportunity to review that MOU? Any risks, any things that the council should know about?
Yes, I have no problem.
You have no problem with the MOU, all right. For item number 19.
What number was that?
That was item number 20.
Item 20?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
For item number 19, I did receive the email, DC Bonilla. So this is a question I was posing to the Commissioner of Public Safety and Codes. So the letter is for the marking of the 5 vehicles and the contract, the county contract that is referenced. It says that they're on contract for labor, but it's not all labor. And as I went through the contract earlier from the county, I didn't quite identify where the marking was, where the marking labor was. So I wanted to make sure that that's a part of the procurement. And I know this is a company that we've used in the past, but that doesn't alleviate the requirement to make sure that this service is under contract. So I guess my question is, Commissioner Gibson, could you assist, or your team assist me and show them? I wasn't able to identify it. If y'all can show me exactly where this is so that we can make sure that we're complying with the procurement policy, that'd be great. Okay. Also, item number, all right, so I want to talk about the ambulance contract, and I know the mayor sent over comparisons of how much we were paying. So essentially what this contract is we want to have Empress, who's the vendor for our EMS services, to use the 4 ambulances that we purchased. But what I didn't see in the contract, and what we've kind of been talking about with the fire department for some time now, is wanting to see the buses or the ambulances posted around the city and not just staying at one firehouse. I believe that this improves response times. Right now, the contract indicates that 7 minutes and 59 seconds is going to be the target response time for 90% of the calls. And I don't know about you all, but 8 minutes seems like a long time for someone to get to one of my loved ones in need of services. So that's a concern. I think them being posted throughout the city, at least until 9 p.m., right? It doesn't have to be 24 hours, gives them an opportunity to respond quicker to incidences in those areas. So similar to how we have a firehouse on the north, south, west, east side, I believe that we should be trying to do that with our ambulances as well. Also, the maintenance of the vehicles, it wasn't clear to me, and I don't know, did Commissioner Norman leave? Oh, sorry. From reading the contract, it wasn't clear. It says that we'll store, actually it said that we'll store and maintain the vehicles. And is there a reason why they're not maintaining them since they're gonna be utilizing them? And how do we gauge for like misuse, negligence on their part?
Yes, thank you, because they are licensed by us and we have a mechanic. So again, in negotiating, bless you, I'm so glad. They are still our vehicles. They're insured by us and our maintenance guy. They will do some maintenance, but our maintenance guy too, ultimately responsible, they're still our vehicle.
So what is the some maintenance that they'll be doing?
Okay, so like we'll do the general changing up, change the oil. They were gonna do some of this, but they don't have a lift over there for our ambulances, as we don't either, but we do in DPW. So that's why we're gonna work with DPW until that was on the capital projects to get a lift for the fire department.
So do we have a lift?
No.
So how?
DPW does. DPW does.
Okay.
So if we had to do that, our mechanic with the city of Mount Vernon, we coordinate with DPW to utilize down there at the yard.
Who's providing the fueling? The
Who's what now?
fueling for the ambulances, who's gonna provide the fuel?
Yes, they will.
They will.
Yes.
Can we not provide fuel at a cheaper cost?
I believe, well, I'll look into that. I think it's part of, we'll continue to do this, and this. And because we have already our fuel a lot, with all the city vehicles, so we just, okay, like negotiating back and forth, you'll take care of the fuel.
And didn't really answer my question. I'm
I
trying
don't
to,
believe it's cheaper for us with the fuel, because again, our fuels are very high already with the whole city. Like the fire department, we don't pay for the DPW. We don't, yes, we have a gas at 2 houses, but we monthly don't pay that fuel. DPW does.
right.
So again, like when you're negotiating, okay, we'll fill your vehicles.
That doesn't answer my question, Commissioner.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
wasn't
I'm
you
trying
saying
to
the
figure
cheaper?
out.
I thought you said it was the cheaper, I'm sorry. Is that
Right.
what you said?
My question is, the contract price is at $1 million and change, all right? And that includes them fueling our ambulances, all right? I'm saying as a negotiating point, can we bring that $1 million and change down by not requiring them to fuel so that we can fuel in-house?
Okay.
And you're saying that you don't believe that it's more, you believe it's cheaper to have them fuel the ambulances than for us to fuel the ambulances?
Yes, but if I may, Miss Everett, are you online? Can you hear and speak? Because she did a lot of the deep dive with all of this, even though we both met. Can you speak?
Tony Everett,
Yes,
are you available to speak? Can you come off
She's got her.
of
can you
mute?
hear?
Thank you. Come off of mute.
All right, can you hear me? No. Can you hear me now?
Do we know why we can't hear us?
Uh-oh.
Then she might not can speak. That
Hold
is
on, can you hear me?
a question I could look into, Councilwoman.
Are you also able to look
hold on,
into including
How about
having
now?
the
Hear
ambulances
me?
posted?
We were doing that already. We were gonna do that because it's 4 ambulances. So we weren't gonna have all 4 at stations.
So can we include it in the contract? I guess is my question.
We could hear you online, but we
Sorry,
can't
with all
hear
due
you.
respect, if you look at the prior contract, the prior contract actually said
Mayor,
where,
I don't think they could
north
hear
side,
us.
east side, what have you. So,
Can y'all hear
but right
us
now,
online?
any given night, if
No,
you drive by
we can hear
Fulton
each other,
Avenue
but they can't hear
Firehouse,
us.
the 3 ambulances are there. So it's just to really secure that they stay in the areas that are needed.
Okay.
That happened
so,
to me
I'm
earlier. We are
saying
talking, but
you
they
would
can't
like
hear
it
us.
in the contract where they have to be posted. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. That's what I'm asking. Also, this, The contract says that the contractor shall make every reasonable effort to supply additional ALS and ambulance response flight car to support the dedicated city units. What is a reasonable effort? What if they say that they can't
No,
support a fly car?
That again, because now that we will have 4 ambulances on the road plus the community paramedicine. If there's calls from 60 control for, as they normally do, a mutual aid for us to go out, that Empress would cover that.
Say that again?
60 control in White Plains, like they do anybody with mutual aid. We only have 2 full-time and 1 part-time. If they were to call us for mutual aid, that Empress is also saying they could provide ambulance to go do the mutual aid.
Yeah,
covering us.
my question is more around, it says they would make every reasonable effort. How are we defining a reasonable effort? So if they say 3, 4 times that they can't make it,
Well,
what does that do to us?
We continue to monitor calls.
Hello?
The calls on, everything is documented, why was a mutual aid requested, where the ambulances are. Plus our continual, which we've been meeting a lot more monthly with all the stats and things of that.
I don't
nature.
understand why they can't
They
hear
even
us.
had a target of
Can we
bringing
call
the
in?
response time down. We will
Hold on.
constantly talk about that every month on all calls, the response time, working on it. The same thing is mutual aid, and things of that nature.
Commissioner, you're not answering my question. I'm asking you,
How, you saying like?
how are
you
we,
gonna-
let me finish, Commissioner.
Okay.
How are we defining a reasonable effort? What are the metrics around the
Tony,
fly
are you
car?
able to
What
answer
is our
these questions?
expectations around the fly car, right? The contract only says reasonable effort.
Yes, but
which
they
leaves
can't
room
hear me.
For them to say,
I know, but I'm
last 5
saying,
times we
I'm
needed mutual
asking Ed
aid,
if you can
I've
call him
only had
on
the
his cell
opportunity to
phone.
show up
Right.
one
Let me
time.
send, now.
What does that
Let-
do for us?
You have Ed's cell phone? Yes,
So
I do.
specifically, again, first let me say, when you say the contract says the fly car, that's the community paramedicine program. That will be here in Mount Vernon 5 days a week, 10 hours a day. Right? When you're looking at the contract on that, but fly car. Now, a mutual aid, as you said, or asking the question, how will we determine what's reasonable?
It's
Again,
ringing, but he may have
with
it
us
on
sitting
mute.
down, looking at all the times. Where's this bus? Where's
Let me
that
try to
bus
call Kendra
for
online.
mutual aid? Just like we would do. So
Let
if
me
we
try
said to
Kayla.
any community, we don't have a bus, we have to show it. We just can't
Crazy.
say that bus was
Let's see.
actually in service. That's what you're asking us.
No,
believe.
that's not what I'm asking. You.
Okay.
What I'm asking you is how do we define as the city of Mount Vernon when they've made a reasonable effort? What do we consider a reasonable
If
effort?
they're not tied up, if you're not tied up and we call you for mutual aid, why wouldn't you not come? We define that as.
Right.
You
But
can-
what
we-
is,
we
what do
can
you mean
hear
by
you, but we
tied up,
can't hear
right?
you.
sorry.
Okay,
If
all
they're
right.
not on a
All right,
call,
thanks.
Right,
Like,
so if
you-
our
right.
4 ambulances aren't on the call is what you're talking about?
No, okay, if they go provide the mutual aid, if they're not on a call, then they can provide the mutual aid.
Who's,
Empress, when it says that.
in their
Empress-
whole organization or our 4 ambulances is what I'm asking you?
Commissioner, can you hear us yet? This is ugly.
I'm sorry.
Ma-
Hold on a second. Hold on
Okay.
a second, Kendra. Hang on.
Okay.
Who wants to speak? Okay. All right. So just hold on one sec.
They was trying to get her.
Okay. Right.
And we've raised the volume on the TV? We've raised the volume on the TV?
Okay. So the mayor wants to call my phone? Okay.
Mayor? Hi, hold on, I'm trying to merge you again. Okay. Uh-oh,
It keeps going away.
I'm gonna have to call your phone directly.
Okay.
Hello?
Yep, I'm here, Mayor. But
Tony, I'm gonna have you call Kendra's phone directly. I'm gonna text you her number, because each
Okay.
time I try to merge, we keep dropping.
All right, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay.
It didn't work with Burrell either, right? You want me to? Mayor, you want me to call you? Just say
I need
yes or
you.
no. No.
You can't hear me.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay, Tony's gonna call Kendra's phone? No problem. All right, great. And I'll keep you on speaker, okay? Okay. All right. Tony Everett will be calling our chief of staff because we are having technical difficulties. I do have the mayor on speaker. Tony Everett has been our representative from the fire department that's been working with Local 60 and also Local 60. Control 60. See, that's my construction background, Control 60, which operates the Westchester County EMS system and the mutual aid for Westchester County EMS. Okay. Okay, so, hold on, Mayor.
She should be calling in.
No, we got her. We got her.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna move myself.
Okay, all right, you're hanging up?
No, I'm here. I'm just muting myself.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Can you hear me?
Background noise.
Gotcha.
Can you all
Okay.
hear her?
You want to give it a,
Okay, so, hold on, guys. Councilwoman Brown presented a question on how you measure the matrix on determining when you go for mutual aid.
When Empress.
Let
when Empress-
her re-ask the question. Councilwoman Brown?
oh,
question
okay, so,
was,
so
was it-
Wait, Tony. Wait, Tony.
Let Tony talk.
Okay.
I'm sure she heard me.
Go ahead.
all right. So mutual aid is requested of any city, municipality, town by 60 control. So mutual aid is dispatched by the respective cities. If we have an ambulance available to fulfill that mutual aid request, that request is dispatched by the fire department FAB Bureau. And there are times when we don't have resources available, so we cannot dispatch on a mutual aid request.
Got you. So the provision in the contract says that that Empress shall make every reasonable effort to supply additional ALS and ambulance response, quote unquote, fly car to support the dedicated city units, right? How are we measuring that?
So, so there's a fly car that covers Mount Vernon and Yonkers and Pelham. And if we need an additional medic on the scene, let's just say it's a cardiac arrest, and we send a BLS bus because our ALS bus is on another call, we call Empress and ask them to dispatch the fly car. Sometimes they have more than one, it's an EMS supervisor, paramedic. Sometimes they have more than one on duty, but we call Empress, ask them if they can dispatch the fly call to a particular call. In addition, those supervisors are on duty throughout the day, monitoring runs, monitoring their people in the city. So usually they're available to us.
Gotcha. And is there a metric? How do we determine if they're not supplying enough support to the city?
I'm going back and forth between speakers, so could you say that again?
Yeah, how do we determine if they're not actually supplying enough support to the city?
How do we determine whether or not they're interested in supplying enough
adequate
support to the
support.
city?
Yeah, with the fly
Okay.
car.
That's a great question. We monitor, and we've been really monitoring our EMS system since 2019. So we're watching the evolution of EMS across the nation, across the state, and our city. And we're also watching the dynamics of our community change. And so we realized that in 2014 alone, our EMS runs have increased by 1,286 runs, January to October, over last year. And we have not been able to sustain responding in a timely manner to all of those calls. So we're now #1 again in the county on mutual aid requests. So we don't have enough resources on the ground to respond to all of our calls. We're going to go over 9,000 by the time this year ends. We're going to be over 9,000 when we're generally 8,500 for, we average that a year. So we monitor runs daily, and we monitor runs weekly, and we produce those reports to kind of gauge. We're also listening to radio traffic, and we're getting feedback from 60 Control. We get a report every week of all of our mutual aid requests, and where they're sending or asking us to respond to. And unfortunately, we are so busy that we are not providing as much mutual aid to other cities as we are getting. So to answer your question, we monitor runs, we do reports weekly and monthly.
All right. Additional question is, I see that the goal in here is to have 7 minutes and 59 seconds of response time, which I believe should be lower. And it's 90% of the time, right? But what is the incentive, or how do we incentivize them not to miss those performance metrics?
Okay, that's another great question, because I know you know personally, in a city like Mount Vernon, I think the response time should be 6 to 7 minutes.
Agreed.
So they initially proposed 13 minutes. We said absolutely not. And what they want us to do, and it's going to take some work on our part, is there are different levels of response. There's a hot response and a cold response, right? But in our city, we're accustomed to hot responses. No matter what the medical complaint is, we expect an ambulance between 6 and 7 minutes. So it takes some training in our community to move off of 6 to 7 minutes. The other major reason why we went to 8 on the first year here is because of the ambulance that we have. We have an abnormally large, chassis, which makes driving and maneuvering around the city challenging. So it's a bigger ambulance than what even Empress is used to. In fact, on some of our streets, which are narrow and small, we may have to park in the middle of the street to block traffic so that, we don't sideswipe the ambulance. But this gives Empress, as well as our team, time to get accustomed to that vehicle. But they understand that we are really at 6 or 7 minutes, but we're going to do 8 to get everybody accustomed to the new system and the new vehicle.
So my question is, why is there no mechanism in the contract that allows for a reduction, right? The contract calls for a 2-year contract for 8 minutes and then options to renew. There's nothing about reduction or the city's ability to reduce that.
So, in our discussions with, Empress, who understands that they're not even meeting, to be honest with you, they're not even meeting the 8-minute, 90% tile. They're not doing it at 9. Now, it's codified in the contract what we want them to meet, and previous contracts, that a requirement to meet a certain time was never codified. So we've always spent these years spinning our wheels because all the contract required was talking about it. Now they have to meet it, which is a huge step in the right direction.
Okay. And if they don't, though, the consequence says that you all develop an action plan, right? That as a vendor, that doesn't incentivize me to meet it, right? We'll develop an action plan and we can talk about what we're going to do for the next 3 months, but I'm not affected economically. I still get the same money. How does that help the city?
I got you. There's no economic penalty in the contract for not meeting the 8-minute mark. There are provisions in the contract to come together and kind of figure this out, but it's our belief after this last round of discussion, simply because they know we're closer to standing up our own system than we have ever been. I think they recognize that. So there are
After this
provisions in
last
the
round of
contract to come
discussion,
together as partners to try to talk through and get us to 8%. I think they are willing to do what needs to be done to get us to 90% fractile on 8 minutes.
All right, so I'll just say my only concern is this is the same vendor that we've been using for years who was supposed to provide us with metrics that has refused, just outright refused, right? So us giving them the benefit of the doubt doesn't seem to be the right thing here, because once we sign this contract, we're locked in for 2 years and they've bought 2 more years of revenue, right? And we can stand up a EMS on our own, but that's 2 years out. So they've bought 2 years of revenue. So I really think these things should be identified in the contract. I also think that the metrics that we had a hard time getting from them, if we're truly going to stand it up on our own, should be included in this contract on top of the other metrics that were in there.
So we have been meeting with Empress
can't hear with
regularly,
that on.
it seems, the past couple of months. They have been finally providing us with their set of metrics, which pretty much mirrors what we have. So we're not far off. I think there is a push and an understanding with Empress as well as the fire department that this time is different. And it has to be, right? They understand that we've branched out and we're talking with our city council and the mayor and the controller and some of our constituents about this program, and that we cannot continue down this road. There are provisions in the contract where they have to provide us a plethora of reports that we have to come together monthly to discuss those reports and any other issues. And the leadership there has even urged us not to wait until the monthly meetings, but to address issues when they come up. And we have been testing that recently. So I don't know, I did not raise an economic deterrent in this. I want to believe that Empress is ready to be a partner with us in this new and exciting program. And they're excited about this program as well. With respect to starting up our own, we had a conversation with the controller who asked us to look at a different way of implementing this. And I think he was right in his thinking as well. And we see that with all the work that's yet to be done, we still would not be able to do it and do it the right way for another year or two. So this is an opportunity for us to see what it is that we wanted to stand up on our own, and to be directly involved in every aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's great, right? But we, in the contract, we only asked for number of requests, response times, nature of incidents, mutual aid provided and requested. There's a slew of data that we've needed to kind of identify what made sense and what the economics of the city standing up their own EMS program would look like, and we didn't have that data. So what I'm saying is, instead of us assuming that they're ready to be partners, let's require them to be partners via the contract, right? And let's identify what our standards and our expectations are so that we're not guessing or begging for information that the city technically should have. That's it.
Okay, the next paragraph after that list
Can you
states
put her
that the
closer to
monthly
the microphone,
reports
please?
may also include such other additional information as requested by the city regarding this agreement. For example, review of PCRs, review of the billing and revenue regulatory filings. So it's in there that these additional reports can be requested and should be provided.
Wasn't that in the last contract as well?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't that in the last contract? That second clause
No,
you read?
no, that was not included in the last contract.
So per the last contract, they weren't required to give monthly reports?
They were required to give monthly reports, but they were not required to be as specific as we're trying to be right now.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I have the mayor online who would like to speak. But Mayor, do you want, Councilman Potteet wants to speak first?
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Ms. Everett. I have one quick question. Right now, we're spending $608,000 for 2.5 ambulances. That works out to about $250,000. And that's ambulances from Empress, not ours. The new contract's about $1,015,000, which works out to about $250,000 for 4 ambulances that are ours. And so I don't understand why we're paying the same price per ambulance if now they're using our ambulances and not theirs.
The mayor on?
1 second, Tony.
Is the mayor on?
Okay, 1 second, Tony, can you?
Okay.
So, I'm assuming that the mayor is gonna say that she sent out a PowerPoint. Did you see the PowerPoint? Gotcha.
Okay, I'm gonna put the mayor on. Go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Hi, so like Tony, I'm kind of toggling between Facebook Live so I can hear the room and speaking, I guess, via your phone onto the speaker. And so what we have in this contract that we did not have before, as Ms. Everett said, is we have more specific reports that they have to provide us with. That's revenue, that's PCRs, and a few of the other additional things that she spoke to. Additionally, we're not stuck with this contract for 2 years. In this contract, it says that without cause, we can cancel this contract within 90 days. And with cause, we can cancel it, I believe, in between 10 and 30 days. And so it's not a contract that we are stuck with if they do not perform, nor do we have to wait months if they're not performing at the level that we need them to perform at. So part of what we've been dealing with, and you know, and we've heard what you said about the response times. So right now we've been having the ambulances at either Station 2 or Station 3. Station 2 being on Fulton Avenue, Station 3 being on 3rd Street. What we're going to do as we stand up these 4 ambulances, which we will have more now, we will also have them located as we did years and years ago, over at the parking garage of Sydney and North 3rd Avenue.
Okay.
Right where the parking bureau is.
Yeah.
So they will be we will have 2 ambulances centrally located there. A, so that can also help reduce our response times. B, as of May, we will also have the Fulton Avenue Bridge and the South Street bridges back open. That will also help improve our response time because ambulances have not been able to go over those bridges even when they were open for years because they did not have the load capacity of an ambulance, which is over 7 tons, and the bridge capacity was only 3 tons. We still do have bridges out on Fulton Avenue and 3rd Street, which adds to some response times. But again, that's why we have some located at Fulton Avenue Station, the 3rd Street Station, and we'll have 1 or 2 depending on the time and what we see, located on 3rd Avenue, North 3rd Avenue and Sydney, and can have one over on West Street where we have our temporary Station 4 responding from as well. When it comes to, because Mr. Councilman Potteet asked about, why the jump in cost from $600,000 for 2 ambulances and 1 12-hour ambulance to double that cost or a little less than double that cost for an additional 1.5 ambulance. The number of calls that we get just because we have more ambulance is not going to increase exponentially by those number of ambulances. The additional ambulances will allow us to not to have to go out for mutual aid because our ambulances are already engaged, picking up a client or treating someone or dropping them off in a hospital, whether it's Mount Vernon Hospital or a hospital outside of a city. We will have more ambulances from which we can respond from and not have to depend on Control 60 to send a mutual aid ambulance from another community. One of the things that we've also seen in the past few years since COVID, there were articles about how the EMS system is broken, not just in Westchester, but all throughout our state because we don't have the capacity. So this increases our capacity to have more ambulances, to reduce the number, to reduce the dependence that we have on mutual aid, to reduce our call response times, and to improve, life-saving measures for our residents here in Mount Vernon. We clearly know that there are some times that it can take 45 minutes if we have our 2 ambulances in New Rochelle or White Plains, then we have to wait for an ambulance to come from wherever they're being dispatched to our city. And it's not like we get to predict when someone's going to have a heart attack and they're not going to have a heart attack, right? And so we need to have more ambulances in the city. And so right now, the reimbursements, the cost of the first 2.5 ambulances are lower because you have reimbursements being done, and reimbursements are helping to cover the number of calls that we're making. The number of calls that we respond to, like I said, is not going to greatly increase, meaning the number of calls that we get is not going to greatly increase, meaning there's more revenue. So what happens is the cost per additional ambulance goes up because there is not medical insurance reimbursing this additional ambulance. It is us having to cover the cost of this additional ambulance. I don't know if that makes sense, but we can also have Empress come and answer some of these questions. But, we've looked at AMR, we've looked at Empress, we've looked at other ones, we've looked at what it would cost us to stand up our own service right now. but we've also looked at what is happening in the state. And so this is also a transition plan because our desire is to stand up our own service so it can become a revenue generating process for Mount Vernon. But when we looked at it, in our first year, we would lose about $600,000. That's not an option for us right now. The other thing that is happening in the state is changing rules and regulations as to what can be reimbursed. And that will change over the next year to year and a half, which will make it going into the future less of a risk and less of a financial risk and potentially more lucrative for us to be able to stand up our own service. One of the things that they're changing the rule around is if we go to a call and we assist someone in their home, but we do not transport them to the hospital, we do not get reimbursed for that. And so they are changing something where they're calling, like aid in place, providing care in place or CIP. So if going forward, probably starting about 2026, if you provide care in place, now you can be reimbursed for that. Right now, we provide care in place. We are not being reimbursed for that run.
Right.
If you provide transport to something other than an emergency room, like an urgent care center, right now that is not reimbursable. Going into the future, that will be reimbursable. And so this is a transition plan for us. And it allows us to be more responsive to our constituents who are in need of emergency medical care. It reduces our response times, and it increases the number of calls that we're able to get to from about 80 to 85% to about 97% of the calls that we'll be able to respond to.
I'm gonna call you. All right, Mayor, hang on just one second. One thing I just wanted to point out is I think we're all in agreement that Mount Vernon absolutely needs better ambulance service here in the city of Mount Vernon. I think our questions surrounding this contract is whether this contract is good for Mount Vernon or whether we have to make additions to it. And I think it's a great idea that you suggested to have Empress come in because I think once they see our passion regarding the service that they've given us over the last few years, that I think it's really important to put a face to it. So I love that idea. I'm also going to switch over right now. If you could put your phone on mute, Mayor. Councilman Potteet has got a question.
And this meeting is going long, so I will follow the recommendation. Have Empress needs to be here, and when they come, we can ask further questions. Madam Mayor, just to clarify the question that I had, where I'm having difficulty is using our ambulances versus using Empress. And so obviously there's a need for 4 ambulances in the city. There's no argument. The issue is the most cost-effective way of getting that done. And just looking at the numbers, because I'm not quite getting the reimbursement argument, whether it's 2.5 ambulances or 4, we're assuming that the number of calls wouldn't go up, the reimbursements wouldn't go up, but we're getting this information from a vendor that's not giving us information. And so we're just relying on their word that the reimbursements from 4 ambulances to 2.5 wouldn't come in. Looking at the numbers, if Empress with their current contract gave us 4 ambulances, they would charge us $865,000. By using our ambulances, they would charge us $973,000. By using our ambulances, and they're charging $865,000. I just don't see the savings. And so one of the arguments might be, okay, if we're going to do this for all the right reasons, let Empress do it with their own ambulances and not have wear and tear on our ambulances because the economics don't make sense. That's just one, I guess, general question I have. And then we can talk to Empress about why that is or isn't the case.
Okay, I'm going to allow the mayor to respond. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay, there's a lag on Facebook. With Empress, for 4 ambulances, it would be $2,650,000 a year just using their ambulances. Using our ambulances, it would be the $1,015,000. I don't have the exact number before me, but the $1,015,000, which is a cost savings of about $1.6 million. So you gotta look at it again.
But those numbers are coming from Empress. So Empress is saying, here's my cost, right? But it's coming from Empress, who's not giving us data that we could use on several issues. What I do know is right now, Empress is charging us about $200,000+ per ambulance. And that jump up that we're saying every extra ambulance is $1 million because they told us so. And that's the part I don't feel comfortable with, given that we have an entity that hasn't given us transparent data before. Why then would we believe them telling us that this is what the number should be? But again, we bring Empress here.
I think this, okay. All right, Councilwoman Brown.
I mean, I don't have plans tonight, so I don't know why everybody's up, but you know, but
Yeah, the one night she's staying up after 8 o'clock.
what I'll say is, I mean, to Ed's question, I think any vendor has the right to determine their value, right? So they can come and say, I'm charging you 2, 3, 4, 5 million, and that's their price. It's either we find a new vendor or we figure out another option, which kind of leads to my point. The mayor said that we're not stuck in this contract, but then she also went on to say that we've talked with AMR and another vendor, and we still decided that Empress was the best choice. So that really means is that we have no other option but Empress. So we are going to be in this contract for 2 years unless we decide to stand up our service in-house, right? So it doesn't take away from the point that what we said in this contract is going to be there for 2 years. Sure, we can cancel and then do what? Not have ambulances in our city? That's not a viable source.
All right, Mayor. Hold on.
Oh,
All right, I'm putting,
Everett has her hand up.
say it again?
Everett has her hand up.
Yeah, so I literally on Facebook Live, there's a lag. So I just heard the councilwoman, her last words were viable source. So it's about a 15-second lag between Facebook and what I can hear over the phone. So I can't hear over the phone, but I can hear you on Facebook. I can't hear anyone other than Council President Gleason clear over the phone. So yes, we've spoken to AMR and other vendors, but that doesn't mean we can't go out even further. These are people who we've spoken to who are local. So if we need to go out, right, we have a contract that is ending now. So we have to extend it. We can extend it as it is right now with 2.5. And we can absolutely do that. But then we would also lose the money that we have to subsidize the increase in what this is going to cost to the city. And right now we are using ARPA money to subsidize the increase to the city contract as it is, and we have to do that by December 31st. Now we can go out and continue to shop around and look and see what we have, but then we would be taking on whatever additional costs are because we would have to reallocate the ARPA money to something else. So I know the council brought in a consultant to kind of sit down and look and talk with the fire department. I know the council public safety committee of Councilwoman Brown and Councilman Potteet have spoken over the past few months to the fire department and Ms. Everett. You know, it's not like this meeting is the first time. There's been quite a few conversations and y'all have worked together in drilling down on this. And so we are here right now. And we can have Empress there on Wednesday. We can have Empress answer additional questions between now and Wednesday, and we can add and make adjustments to the contract based on the questions that you have and have some more specificity in it. But one way or another, we're going to have to make a decision. If we move forward and we just keep it as we are, it's 2.5 ambulances, and we'll reallocate the ARPA money to the roof of a building somewhere that we have, you know, that we have to do. So kind of just let us know, because I don't think any of this is going to be decided tonight. The only thing that's going to be decided tonight is whether or not you want to hold it for more information and if it's going to go on Wednesday's agenda or not. And then we will follow up and get whatever else that you need.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. I think we have Councilwoman Brown one more time, and then, we have to go on to finance and planning.
Sure, Council President, thank you for your grace. I think there's a few things. There's first, I think I've expressed my displeasure with the current arrangement with Empress for over a year now, right? So I think, is your mic on? No? So it was my hope that we would explore options outside of Empress or local options. I think another option is not to enter into a 2-year contract, but to instead enter into a 1-year contract where we can utilize the ARPA funds. I think it's unfortunate that we're put into this position, you know, 2 weeks before ARPA funds need to be expended, because I don't think that's how decisions in the city should be made. It should be made in the best interest of the city, right? And I think this undue pressure is unnecessary. But as the contract is now, I won't be voting in favor of it. I think there are things that are missing that we need to protect the city and make sure we get what we need. That's all I have, Council President.
Yeah, Councilman Potteet. No, that's fine. You guys are public safety. and
Very,
code.
very quick question.
Go right ahead.
Can we enter into a much shorter term contract? Did I get the sense of urgency here, right? The contract's expiring. I think you've heard some of our issues. Is it possible to do a 6-month extension, which would then give us 6 months to explore various vendors who maybe aren't local, look at various bids, or to renegotiate with Empress in a way, at least that I think is more beneficial to the city? Is that an option to have a 6-month contract extension? Yeah. So we obviously need 4 ambulances. There's no argument. But is it possible to have a 6-month versus a 2-year contract in that vein? Is that a possibility? I mean, I don't, just asking, I don't know. But can we start off with a 6-month contract? Okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right, with that being said, we're moving on to finance and planning. Councilman Boxell.
All right, thank you. Number 22, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Mount Vernon appointing Mr. Charles Hines to the Board of Review. And that's on the agenda. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. I would like to go back to, what was it? Public Safety and Codes, item number 13. And I would like to ask the chair and the co-chair, do you want to leave this as an agenda pending, or would you like to call for it?
So I'd like to leave it as agenda pending just for now because there's some facts I don't know. One is, I'm sorry, guys. Can I tell them? When does the contract expire?
Pretty sure it's 12/31 if I'm not
Is it
mistaken.
12/31?
Yeah, I have that date memorized.
So that's one data point. Well, we have that data point, and then 2, to find out if we can have a 6-month extension, if that's a possibility. And then 3, if Empress can come in, so we can ask them these questions directly.
You want them to come in for Wednesday?
If it's the pleasure of the council.
No,
if it's-
I think that's a great idea. I still, am not sure that we're ready to vote on it on Wednesday, but I mean, that's up to how everybody on the council feels, right? So I'm open to them coming on Wednesday. Anybody want to weigh in here? You don't think what?
I don't think it's ready for a vote yet.
You don't think it's ready for a
No.
vote yet? Councilwoman Brown doesn't think it's ready for a vote yet. So Councilman Thompson?
You can call for it, have them come in and present, and maybe we can get it in by next meeting.
Okay.
But we have to vote by the 23rd. We don't have a choice. Just that
Obviously, but we can also call a special. That's always within our power. So I would like them to come in for Wednesday, Commissioner, if you can make that happen, Empress. I would also invite the council to please pull the previous contract and compare both. If you need a copy of it, I'm sure Nicole, our deputy clerk Bonilla, can get you a copy of it. I don't think I have the most updated copy. With that being said, any other further comment from council? All right. Mount Vernon, have a very good night. We will see you on December 11th.